Hey tubers, welcome back to Finish This Adventure. So what I did is I swapped out the piston. I left the writing right on top so that you guys could see that. And theoretically this thing is ready to put back together again. A few things about this, to make life a little easier. There's little clips here and they hold in the wrist pin. And to get those out, you got to be really careful. They're snapped in really well, so you got to work those out. I used those pliers there. I was able to get a good grip on it and work it out that way. So that's first of all. Whatever pistons you're putting back in, see the oil holes down there on the wrist pin, those down deep for the rings and so forth. There's several holes throughout it. Make sure they're nice and clean. If they're not clean, you do not get oil up against the rings and all that, and you end up wearing it prematurely. When you seat the wrist pin retaining clip in, make sure it seats completely and properly, right? You don't want any surprises like that coming out again, and now your wrist pin will be scraping up against your bore and other problems. In means intake, so make sure you put it in the right place. Once you have the piston in place, just make sure you have no side to side, up and down, round and round movement, right? Make sure that basically you're going to have no rod knock. This thing feels tight in all directions. I did take a moment and I measured. This is the old ring, the old piston, the old ring on it. I got 2 millimeters, and on the new one when I measured it I got 2.5. So that's quite a bit more. That's 25% more ring on the new one than the old one, or the new old one than the old one. Just a couple of other things. When you put a piston in, make sure you set up the rings so that they're staggered, let's say somewhere around, I don't know, 8 o'clock, 4 o'clock, noon, or perhaps a little more toward 9 and 3, right? That way you don't have a passage for the oil to come straight up, right? Staggering the rings is a very, very good thing. So I think that's all I need to tell you. I've cleaned these surfaces the best I can, and I can kind of tell when I slide my finger around. They're good. I did the oil passages here, right? I have the gasket set. So now it's really a matter of reassembling it. This is the bore I'm going to use. I cleaned it up. I would have liked to hone it, but I could not find any of the 3 hone sets I own. So the Horde ate my honing sets, all 3 of them. So I just kind of cleaned it up with emery, and then I was really careful to get all the particles out, right? As you look here and there and all, you don't see any particles as it's going together, right? Obviously gaskets, make sure you get plenty of oil all over everything in here. I already oiled the wrist pin, but down there on the crank bearings and all, get plenty of oil on the rings, the piston, the bore as you're sliding it together, right? Get the gaskets in the right place, make sure you put the O-rings in, all that kind of stuff. So now it's just really a matter of reassembly. Don't worry. After it fires 2 or 3 times, that 1983 ATC 200 will be long gone. So I'm putting it together now, and I think I remembered to tell you guys everything. This is not a rebuild, though. Let me be very clear about that. The engine had a high oil consumption. I popped off the head to see why. I found that it appeared as if the piston was able to move all over the place. So the rings were shot, the bore was shot. So that's all I replaced. A rebuild means taking the engine completely apart, cleaning it up, completely cleaning it, replacing all the gaskets and all the parts that show anywhere, right? You could go crazy with a rebuild and basically completely renew the engine, or you could really do kind of a sloppy redneck farmer's job like I'm doing now. Not that that's a bad thing, right? I know what I'm doing. I'm just replacing the piston and the bore, right? I did not renew this engine. This is not a rebuild. So we got the piston in there, and just to show you, there's just no play, right? I mean, nothing. It's nice and tight, so perfect. Continuing assembly. Another quick note, notice the alignment pins or inserts. Let's go with inserts. 1, 2, 3. So 2 up against the valve chain and 1 where the oil O-ring goes. Right? So right now the piston is at top dead center, right? You want to make sure you get yourself there, because that from here that makes everything else a little easier. This engine doesn't really like to stay at top dead center, so one is going to have to make sure as everything's lined up that, you know, your valves are in the right place. Actually, you want to be just before top dead center. So as you're coming up, your magnet is going by your pulse generator. When this says fire, right, you want to make sure your magnet's not reversed, because you can put it in 180 degrees out. And don't forget to put the little pin in the cam. Right, where are we? Right there. The engine is getting there. A few more things to note. First of all, show you here. See how there's a little pin on the bottom of that? That's got to go into the hole down there, right? So make sure that happens, otherwise things won't settle down. And if you pound on them, obviously you're going to damage them. As you're trying to get your timing close, remember the lobes go down, right? If they were up, they'd be pushing on those, so you want to make sure the lobes are down. And that kind of puts the pin right here. See that little hole where the pin goes? And that also, right, this one here you actually cannot put 180 out. Some of them have 2, or I guess if you pull the top off of this, you can flip this, put the magnet in backwards. But so I know this is the magnet side. That's not, right. You can see the little stripe on it goes across, right. This one doesn't have it. So I know that somewhere around right where my middle finger is going to be the where the pulse generator is, and I'm about at top dead center. Give a little bit, so I know that this and that want to line up, so I'm pretty close. Now it's just a matter of fitting the wheel on there, getting the final adjustments to make sure everything's just right, and sliding this on, and we're all good. Okay, tubers, this is where the rubber kind of hits the road. If you screw this up, this is where your real trouble starts showing up. Let's try a flashlight that has a little more battery to it. So, you see that little thing there? And if you look at the flywheel, you see a T, and then you should see where the line is. So this is at top dead center, and you see that little notch on top, and you see the circle, and you see they're all lined up. And once again, you got to make sure your valves are loose. That's all good. Then you see the little notch there. You know your pulse generator is going to be right on top here. So you see where the notch is. So that puts everything right where it needs to be. By the way, with this advancer, I wired it so it doesn't advance, and that might be the reason why it's kind of this one's a little bit of a hard starter. It has a tendency to kick back on me, and that might be because this thing was kind of set up to run with the China ignition. I'm going to loosen my valves up just another touch, double check my timing, and finish putting it back together again. Anyone see a problem? Anyone? Even Harvey screws up once in a while. So the assembly of this engine continues, and just another critical point. Hopefully, put that notch right there. And hopefully you could see the little line after the F. Hopefully I'm showing that to you on the flywheel. And take note how it's lined up right there. I got the pin back into it. It's all put together, tightened up, everything's set. And at this point, quite honestly, it's a matter of just putting that cover on, bolting it up, and giving it a try. It doesn't look like I've lost anything. Looks like everything has gone on like it should. Unfortunately, I have a few things I need to do, so I gotta leave this for now. The next video you see of this engine, it will be bolted up into the frame, and we'll start it. And we'll see if it smokes. While I was here, I fixed this thing. What else did I fix? I made sure the timing chain was good. I got that back on. There was one other thing that didn't make sense that I tweaked. I forgot what it is right now. But anyway, so this wraps up this series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want you all to keep your feet down, your heads up, and get out there and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.